us as a solution to our problem. And you know what? The universe is very generous. It always comes up with fantastic solutions. So the deeper cause can be a positive mirror, but you can also look at what's going on around you and ask, the more pertinent negative questions. What's frightening you? What's disgusting you about what's going on? You look at what's going on in the world today. You can get very frightened looking at what's going on in the world today. Who or what rubs you the wrong way? What triggers you? What do you judge? What seems always out of your reach? You're always striving to get this, but never quite get it. What seems unfair or unjust? And what makes you jealous, like my story about the book. So these are some of the things that you need to get out of the way. Once you know the problem, then it becomes easier to heal it. And in A Course in Miracles, which is one of my favorite books, my best source of inspiration for alternative thinking about problems, everything properly perceived is an opportunity to heal. It's a calling. It's begging you. So if you see a problem, celebrate. One of the things that I used to get cross about in my healing journey was that I ran out of problems. I'd done so many different aspects of every problem that I could remember in my childhood and beyond, in past lives, and I'd visited some of them many times over. And after 9 years of this, I said to one of the top NLP trainers in the world, I said, Robert, it's Robert Dilts, I don't know what to do with this anymore. I'm at loss. I've worked so hard for so many years. And he said, it doesn't fit into a simple little process. And then he did a great piece of work with me that did shift one more dynamic. It wasn't the dynamic, but it really helped me on the way. And it gave me heart to carry on. So, if we're going to attract what we really do want, if we want results, we have to turn around these different issues. We need to reduce those internal conflicting thoughts. If you have an internal conflict about something, if part of you saying this and a part of you saying that, then you're not going to move forward. You're going to be fighting between these two. It's like the classic thing, should I stay or should I go? Should I do this career or that career? Lots of people now are floundering about, what is my niche? Where should I go? Who am I? Am I this or am I that? If you've got conflict, you're not going to move forward. You need to increase your perception and your self-awareness. Anything that opens up your senses is going to be helpful. And then you need to align your thoughts in the same direction. That's congruence. And what I notice about every time I've been able to manifest something is that there was nothing in the way. It was either something that was so good for me, so honestly on my path, that it just happened effortlessly, or, it was small, and there was just nothing in the way. But it's that alignment of all your thoughts going in the same direction. So the first thing to do is to start with the attitude of abundance. We can't start from a place of saying the world is a terrible place. We have to start from a place of opportunity. I like to look at the world as, look how far we've come. Look at all the wonderful people in this room. And you are representative of a huge shift in consciousness, not confidence, well, that as well, consciousness around the world that has happened. And I've watched it happen. When I started in this field 25 years ago, it wasn't like this. When I started in London, there were 4 NLP schools. There's now 2,004. It's like everybody is learning NLP. And there are so many other things available now. And people are taking what used to be considered completely woo-woo as fact, as, of course, that's just the way it is. And, let's run with it, let's use it, let's make use of it. So the Buddha was attributed with saying, desire nothing. Don't be attached to what you want. Want it, but don't be attached. Resist nothing. Get rid of all the conflicts and accept everything. To the degree that you can accept what is, you will calm down. You will enter those lovely delta waves. You will access your inner strengths. You will put out the right frequencies. And you will pick up from the universe all the frequencies that match what you really truly want. That's the way it works. So you need to focus less on having what you want and focus more on wanting what you have. That's acceptance. Then, ask yourself, what does my heart want? What am I being called to do? What do you passionately want? And if you want to get clear on this, the exercise I often give to my clients is to make a little list. It could be a list of words, it could be drawings, it could be whatever you want in your whole life, from the time you can remember, that you love, you absolutely have passion for. Could be what comic books you used to read, what toys you used to play with, what you love in nature. When you read a newspaper or a magazine, what articles jump out at you? What books fill your bookshelves? What gives you a buzz? What is it that makes your heart sing? This is what makes you uniquely you. Because what you love is what you are meant to be here for. That's what's different. That's what makes you different. What you love is different from what everybody else loves. So this is the fastest way to discover who you are and how magnificent you are. Now, a review of the steps of manifesting. This assumes, of course, that you've cleared the house. You've cleaned and swept the floors. You've gotten rid of all the spiders and the cobwebs. So, the 4 simple steps to successful manifesting. It's so easy. And you can do this in minutes. You can do it and not even know you're doing it. So the first step is to picture something you want. But it has to be a picture with passion. Something you really want that is wonderful for you, in alignment with who you are. Then you want to amplify the senses. That means see it in full color, hear it in full volume to the appropriate degree, feel it in your body, smell it, taste it, use all your senses, amplify it. And in Hawaii, they use the breath to amplify things. So you can use breathing into it, really giving it some deep breaths. Then increase your motivation and purpose. So what will it mean if you have this? How important will this be in your life? What will it allow you to do? How will you grow? How will it help others? Think about the impact it could have on the whole community of people you know, and even wider. You know, I love all the studies in spontaneous remission. And IONS, the Institute of Noetic Science out in California, studied 1,574 people who had spontaneous remissions from cancer. And I was like, oh, thank God, somebody's finally researching people who have had spontaneous remissions. We're not just looking at the problem, we're now focusing on how did they do this? What were the solutions? And they looked at everything they did. They looked at the biochemistry factors, the diet, they looked at all the things they had. They had no surgery and no orthodox medicine. And they had a medically proven spontaneous remission. That was the parameters of the research. They discovered something really amazing that I took to heart. They discovered these 1,574 people had all made the same 8 changes. Wow, that was interesting. So I'm looking at this list. It was written up in one of Lynn McTaggart's magazines, 1974, February issue. And these 8 changes were things that I ticked on my list. I went, yep, I did that, yep, I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that. Wow, that's great. You know what the most important one was? Reduce stress. No surprise, right? Are we surprised at that? But they did lots of things, like they had really good rapport with their doctor. They got what they needed from their medical help. They didn't move away from the medical sort of people at all. They developed a good relationship with people who were supporting them, their therapists and everybody else. They created a healing support team. They took 100% responsibility. They didn't say, well, it's nothing to do with me, this body. I don't know how I got this. It just happened. They didn't say that. They said, okay, my body created it. It must have been me. I must therefore find a way to uncreate it. I'm sure my body can do this. And then they had positive beliefs about that being a possibility. Like when I was diagnosed, I knew that if my body had created it, my body had a blueprint for returning to perfect health. It knew how to uncreate it. I totally accepted that possibility. So by having that, it opens doors. And finally, proceeding with trust. Proceeding means you are still willing to do whatever it takes. You don't just sit there going, I want this result, I must have this will be good for me, this will be good for everybody else. No, you have to get up and go out and do whatever it takes, move in the direction that will get you that goal, whatever it is, whether it's healing or some other goal. And the trust is about letting it go. How easy is it to let go? Anybody here really good at letting go? This one really stumped me for a long time. Anybody have problems letting go? Yeah. I remember I was on a training and I said, I don't know how to let go. I don't know how to let go. And the trainer went, it's easy. It's just like this. Right, did that help you? It didn't help me much either. So I started to study, what does it take to be able to let go? And this is one of the key factors, because to the degree that you don't let go is the same degree that you are attached. If you're attached to getting the result, you haven't let go. So how do you know if you have let go? I might give us some clues. When you have let go, you're totally happy and at peace. You accept whatever happens, or whether it happens or it doesn't happen. And where I got to with my tumor was finally realizing that it didn't matter anymore. And this is kind of a funny thing, because I woke up one morning and I heard this little voice in my mind, and it wasn't a big voice. I just heard this little voice talking to me in my mind. And this was like 10 years into my process, so I was used to listening to myself. I was very self-aware. And this voice felt this big black cloud descend on me as I woke up, as it happened every morning for 10 years. And this big black cloud was, I've got a brain tumor, and I have to find some way to heal this brain tumor. And this little voice was saying, I'm so sick of this. I don't want this anymore. I want to get rid of this. And I realized this little voice was very angry, even though it wasn't shouting very loudly. It was full of inner rage. And had I not done so much work, I might have recognized that. I would have just said, yeah, of course. I want to get rid of it. I'm sick of it. That's true. But I realized this part was so angry that if it had a gun, it would shoot the tumor. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, that's a conflict. I mean, do you want to cut off your leg or your arm? You wouldn't want to do that. And I was trying to get rid of the tumor. I wanted to murder it. I wanted to get it out of there. I wanted to surgically remove it, even though it couldn't have surgery. And, I just wanted it out. I didn't want it anymore. So I realized that energy of fighting it was still in me. So I thought, I got a problem, because unfortunately I agree with the little voice. I do want to get rid of it. If I'm really honest, I do want to get rid of it. So now what do I do? So I was thinking to myself, well, obviously, the opposite must be true. I have to accept it, but I don't want to. So how am I going to get to I want to? So I sat myself down and I did a complete review of my whole process going back 10 years. And I looked at all the things that had happened, and I noticed that my tumor had completely taken me off track of where I had started. At 39, I wanted to get married, have 2.5 children, move to a house in the country, and have happy families. And that was going to bring me fulfillment and happiness. So that was my plan. And you know what God says about having a plan, don't you? So anyway, that was my plan. I was good at making plans. And then the tumor decided to take me down this other route. And this other route was very, very different. I got to meet lots and lots of doctors. I had lots and lots of different tests. I had lots and lots of different people trying to help heal me. Therapists of every size, shape, and color. I traveled all over the world, meeting healers, psychics, trainers, doing trainings, doing workshops, trying all kinds of amazing things like electrocrystallotherapy, and at one point I did cranial dentistry and wore this thing in my mouth which was supposed to completely reorganize the shape of my skull. I mean, I did all kinds of things, whatever I could intuitively feel might help, and none of them did. And so I got to this point of saying, okay, I did all these things and traveled all over the world and I had all these experiences. And as a result of that, I changed. Slowly, gradually, but definitely changed. And then I noticed, hey, I had grown a lot. I had gotten to a place in my life where things were very different. In fact, I had changed my career. I had changed my identity. In fact, I really liked who I was for the first time. I liked who I was now more than I had 10 years before. I thought, that's a big shift. I thought, ooh, okay, I haven't had the 2.5 children and a house in the country with a husband and happy families, but am I happy? And I realized I had an inner peace, an inner happiness that was absolutely beautiful, and I felt good in myself. Whether I had those things or not, I had let go. So I thought, oh, if the tumor has been responsible for all of this, then maybe it's my friend. Maybe it's my guide. It's done a better job at guiding me than I was doing. So maybe I should let go of my plan and trust the tumor has a plan. So of course my question was, so why is it still there? Why is it still there? And I thought, oh, well, must be because it still has more to teach me. Maybe I get to go to Hawaii again. Maybe I get to swim with the dolphins again. Oh, that'd be fun. So I thought, okay, I can trust it. If it's still here, it must still have a purpose. Now, it always had a purpose, but I hadn't listened. And I hadn't learned this one key thing about letting go. And believe me, letting go is sneaky. And this is one of the hardest things about working in the health field. Because I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, oh, I don't feel comfortable working with health problems. I'll work with big, serious traumas, but not health problems. Because I just don't feel comfortable with that. And I said, well, I don't have any problem, maybe because I've been there. And I've been working with health problems all my life. It doesn't bother me. But the difficulty is this letting go bit. Because we have this mental attachment that is in our culture that says we must get a result. Now, sooner rather than later. We don't have a grace of saying, okay, our body is responsible, we are responsible, our body knows how to heal this, let's help our bodies. We don't do that. So, I forgot about my tumor after that day, completely forgot about it. 6 months later, it had gone. It had fulfilled its purpose. So, here are some questions. Do you want to spend your life looking for love, or spend your life being a loving person? Keep wishing for abundance, or appreciate the richness you already have? Search for miracle cures, or search inside for wholeness and wellness? Do you know, when you start looking at the magnificence of your body, you know, there might be one part of your body that's not functioning perfectly, but look at the rest. Look at the rest. It's amazing. And maybe you've seen those very interesting experiments they do now with people who've had amputated limbs, where, you know, they've got one arm and they've lost the other arm, and they put the arm in a box, and they have another box with a mirror on the side of the box, and they imagine the other arms in the other side of the box. So the person can look down and see a mirror image of the hand and arm they still have. And as they are moving the hand and arm they still have, by seeing it in the mirror, it looks like the amputated limb is moving. Do you know what? This feeds back to the brain and actually has a massive impact on healing any phantom limb pain. And the person sort of settles down the whole phantom limb pain. So if by focusing on what does work, it gives feedback to the body that you're already healthy. There might be some part of you that's not. So do you believe you need to fix yourself, or do you believe in the miracle of who you are? So, any questions? If you want to know more about this, my new book has been written primarily to give to people who you might be coaching. Because I realized if people are a little bit like me, a little stuck in their head, a little resistant to the idea, have no idea what created their problem, I've paced the book from that beginning square to understanding enough about how the brain interacts with the body to be able to help somebody get motivated to look at their deeper issues. And I talk a little bit about the deeper issues I don't go into depth about how to heal them because I think there's such a plethora of healing tools around now and so many people available to help that they'll get better quality healing tools from the people they work with. And I encourage them to go out and find somebody like your good selves to work with. And it's a very uplifting book, hopefully a very positive book, so you could give it to somebody who's received a bad diagnosis and it might give them some hope. I thought that my first book would have this effect, but because I called my first book Compassionate Coaching, it didn't go to people who had healing problems. So I made the second book very much about healing and building resilience. So just so you know. Thank you so much.
A big thank you to Arielle.